Hi there. In the first couple of videos, I've taken you through the first sort of two key guiding principles of our 10 guiding principles to delivering successful turnarounds. That being a big focus on those one or two big changes in strategy and a real focus on the understanding that turnaround is a game of confidence. This week, the third sort of key principle I want to talk about is the need to develop an emergency cash runway. So that first 100 days of cash visibility is certainly one of the things that we look at very first before we actually get engaged. And key question we ask is can we keep this business going for at least 100 days? And the reason why that's so important is a lot of the initiatives that you'll come up with may take 14 days, 30, 60 days once you implement them to actually impact on cash flow. So, and by the time those initiatives are coming into play, you're then rolling into the second 100 days and then on. So some of the key things that you need to really be focusing on in that first 100-day stabilisation plan is what we call a rolling 13-week cash flow. So that's a daily rolling up into weekly, monthly, that gives you that 100 days of visibility. And in that cash flow, which is maintained going forward, is what we call your first 100-day stabilisation plan. So all of the initiatives that you're rolling out to stabilise your cash flow and your stakeholders, they then get modelled into that cash flow, and then you obviously aggressively manage those initiatives through to completion. So in that first 100 days, you want to focus on stakeholder management. As we talked about, it's all about confidence. So making sure your key financiers have access to that 100-day plan, the 13-week cash flow or 100-day cash flow, so they can see that the business can be supported through that process. Your first 100-day plan and cash flow should have at least sort of 50, 60 initiatives typically in there. And again, that comes back to confidence. It's not just one or two big things that you're relying upon. You've got a raft of initiatives from additional bank support, whether you securitise your debtor book to bring in a one-off injection of receipts from that debtor book when you sell that. Negotiate payment plans with creditors, statutory creditors, reprieves, payment plans, etc. Aggressively managing older debtors to ensure you get those into the bank. And there's a raft of other working capital initiatives. Identifying non-core or surplus assets for sale. You may not get them sold in that first 100 days, but they'll be well underway and then drop into place in that second 100 days. So that's just a bit of a quick snapshot, but you need to develop that initial cash runway, the 13-week cash flow, coupled with that 100-day plan, and then you're aggressively managing those two in tandem and sitting down with your senior management team and your chief restructuring officer at least twice a week as you go through. And we always recommend that a copy of those is always provided to your financiers on a weekly basis, because it becomes a really good selling tool, because every week they can see those initiatives impacting on cash flow and in turn earnings, and that gives them confidence as you go through that first 100 days that you are building on a plan until you come up with those one or two big changes in strategy.